It's 5 o'clock. We'll call the licensing committee meeting for Tuesday, June 11th to order. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Counsel Field?
Present.
Present Counsel Hogan?
Present.
Present Counsel Net?
Present.
Present Counsel Allensburg?
Present.
Present Counsel Meji Madre?
Present.
We have new taxi operator, Jesus Bruno Cruz, 72 Cabot Street, Beverly.
Mr. Cruz is in attendance. What's the wish of the committee?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any discussion on that approval? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? That license is granted. Mr. Cruz, your license will be ready in the clerk's office Thursday morning after 8:30. Thank you for being here.
Okay, the next one is Vashon Johnson, 34 Monroe Street.
Mr. Johnson is here. Thank you for being present. What's the wish of the committee?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? That license is granted. Mr. Johnson, it'll be ready Thursday morning after 8:30 in the clerk's office. Thank you for being here.
And the next one is Julio Paulino Valenzuela.
Mr. Valenzuela's here. What's the wish of the committee?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Seconded. Any discussion? None. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That license is granted. Mr. Valenzuela, your license will be ready Thursday morning after 8:30 in our clerk's office. Thank you.
We have signs and auto repair, all renewals.
Take those as a whole. What is the wish of the committee on the renewals?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any discussion on those renewals? None. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All those are granted.
We have a new mobile food truck, 3 Oak Street, Peabody, Tipico Express for events only.
Anybody here representing Tipico Express? We have anybody here to represent Tipico Express? We do not have anybody present for Tipico Express. What is the wish of the committee?
Motion to table.
We have a motion to table, second, undebatable, all in favor to table. Aye. Opposed? That license is tabled.
We have new door-to-door sales permits. The first one is Cole Bourbon from Revise Energy, and the manager is Mr. David Favreau.
Okay. Mr. Bourbon's here, Mr. Favreau's here. Did you want to speak at all to explain your? Sure.
Well, thank you for hearing our permit request. Here on behalf as the supervisor for Cole Bourbon, and soon Joe Robinson is on your agenda. Revise has a community first partnership with the city, which was signed with the mayor's office and the city solicitor in August of 2023. And we work with the Mass Save program where they gave like a grant to the city where we do those no-cost energy assessments. We do the weatherization and the HVAC for those things. And we do like discounted rate codes, and it's no cost to customers. And we go door to door educating people because the city of Lynn is one of the communities that are underserved with Mass Save. And so part of our operation is to educate folks about this no-cost service, and they could save up to 20% off of their heating and cooling bills. A lot of times they can get installations no cost through the Mass Save program, and it's National Grid and Eversource who pay into the Mass Save program. And part of our request is to be able to talk to residents about the program.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Favreau? Councilor Allenson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a vacuum salesman when I was in college, I understand the need of promoting the product, right?
Yes.
Why door to door? Is there any other way you can promote or sell whatever item or product you're doing?
Yeah, we do many methods of reaching out to folks, and by far the best is door-to-door operation to educate very specifically the hard-to-reach communities, the underserved areas. Some of nearby we have similar partnerships with Everett, Brockton, Swampscott, and we've been very successful in educating folks. We find a lot of folks who are on Social Security and a lot of costs went up high, and when they're on those discounted rate codes with National Grid, they get sometimes even like HVAC equipment at no cost, but they get like their windows taken care of, the doors, really helping out these communities. And a lot of folks don't know even that they can have these assessments every 2 years. There's a lot of information that's missing at the hands of these communities. And when they're empowered to know about it, they could take advantage of this program that's of no cost to them, that is actually included in.
I understand, but personally,
Yeah.
especially the ward councilors, we received several calls from especially our seniors complaining,
Yeah.
like getting, waking up in the middle of the day when they're resting because somebody wants to sell something.
Yeah. So
I get it.
Yeah.
I've experienced it myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that.
I could answer that good. I am actually the trainee. I
my
train
question-
everybody for all the canvassing, and one of the things what we're doing is a no-cost service, and we're always very
I
polite.
understand. I'm just asking you a basic question as not to interfere the residents or if the residents are okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a special time where you guys go to a specific?
Yeah, we only do 9 to 5. We don't go anywhere near breakfast or dinner. Our canvassers only do 4-hour shifts, usually like midday, and we don't do Sundays. We just do Monday through Saturday from 9 to 5. And we're very respectful. We're not pushy. It's just a no-cost service. We ring. We stand 6 feet away from the door at the bottom. We leave a flyer if no one's there. And our job is just saying it's a no-cost service. Would you like to learn about it? Definitely a no-pressure sales. It's not like we need money from folks at this interaction. It's just their National Grid bill includes that.
you.
Yeah, sorry. I hope that
I'm about to
answers.
buy your product now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Favreau? No other questions? I just want to comment from the chair. I did reach out to share with my colleagues that I did reach out to Chief Reddy after seeing our agenda for tonight. Chief Reddy did express concern about door-to-door sales. The Lynn Police have received multiple complaints over the past number of years as far as aggressive sales, and I'm not singling out anyone, Revise or anyone else, that is petitioning for a license. He did caution that there have been a number of seniors that have been taken advantage of with door-to-door sales. It's rather intimidating for seniors. That's a concern that I share with Chief Reddy. I know I've gotten complaints, and I know I've gotten aggressive salespeople at my door. And I know you said you're 9 to 5, and I'm not being subjective just to your business, but to other businesses that have already been going door to door without a permit from this body. A simple search of Revise on the Better Business Bureau shares some of those same concerns under the complaints as recent as this year. And my position on this at this time is to deny. Does anyone want to make a motion?
Motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny.
Could I possibly address some of those?
No. We have a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor to deny? Aye. Opposed? That license for Mr. Bourbon is denied. We'll move on to the next for Mr. Robinson. Do you want to read that, Madam Clerk?
Joe Robinson, Revise Energy, with manager David Favreau.
Mr. Favreau, did you want to speak on behalf of Mr. Robinson as well?
Yes. If I could
Please.
pick up from what we spoke about before, if we could differentiate the folks who come to someone's door who's actually selling something, solar, pest control. Mass Save is a free service, a no-cost service. We don't ask for like accounts or electric bills from customers. It's simply a state program. And part of our obligation on the memorandum signed with the mayor and the city solicitor is that we have a canvassing operation to reach the underserved. And Mass Save wrote a check to the city of Lynn for $60,000 for that very agreement, so that you guys can have a sustainability manager. And part of that agreement actually entails that we reach these underserved communities, which is the whole point of having a community-first partnership, which we have, since for over a year now with the city of Lynn. And I know that you haven't had many canvassers since COVID because it was shut down, and now the fee is $1,000 per person. It's when we are going door to door, it's not like you will never have an interaction where seniors are complaining about being taken advantage of because it's a free service. National Grid actually pays us to come out to their house and do that service, and it takes about 2.5 hours. and then we give an energy report. And this is something that, MassSave was created by the state of Massachusetts in 2008 for sustainability goals.
Yeah.
So I would just highlight the agreement with the city.
And
that it's very different.
To be respectful, I myself, as a homeowner, have gotten those solicitations in the mail.
Yeah.
I don't believe I've gotten any door-to-door solicitation as far as that is concerned. You mentioned that you spoke with the mayor's office and the CFO for the city, but this is the body that grants the licenses. So to have a license to go door-to-door, it would have to be through this body.
Yes. And I had a person who came in support. Doug Thompson is a selectman of Swampscott, and we actually have this agreement with the city of Swampscott and Lynn as a combined nature, and he came to speak on his experience of our company.
This isn't a public hearing.
Okay.
So with respect to Mr. Thompson, I respect you being here, but it's not a public hearing. So unless your name is Mr. Joe Robinson or Mr. David Favreau, you're the only two that will speak.
Sure. Maybe it could be duly noted
petition
that we
for
have
license.
support of other
Sure.
council members
Sure.
outside of the community, but yeah.
Noted in our minutes. Thank you. Any questions as far as Mr. Robinson's license for Mr. Favreau? Seeing no questions, is there a motion?
Motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor to deny? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That license is also denied. On to the next one, Madam Clerk.
Krishnil Zaver
Thank you
from
for your
Morph
time.
Management, Inc.
Mr. Zaver here? Do you want to speak? Any? Are you representing Mr. Favor or Verizon? If you are, you do want to speak, and you want to please offer your name for the record and position with the company.
So my name is Krishnal Zaver, the President and CEO of Morph Management, and we work in partnership with Verizon here.
And my name is Catherine DiPelto with Verizon.
Okay.
So we wanted to, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity, right? We've never been able to present in front of you before. Our government affairs partner, Stan Yusevich, is in the back with us. If you have any specific, legality, safety concerns, Stan can certainly speak to that. But similar to what you've just heard, right? It's an opportunity for your constituents, really, to have us come to the door and be able to help them. The choices, on the Verizon side, we sell home phone, internet, TV, and cell phones. So we're able to, really help your constituents with whatever it is that they need. We serve all the neighboring towns. We have to go through all the permit process, just like we're doing today, et cetera. Krish is an outstanding partner for Verizon. We've been working with him for a number of years now. I've been at Verizon for 27 years, and I see quite a change in how and where we find our customers, right? It used to be that our customers had to reach out to us. Now, everybody wants us to come to them. It's been a very, very popular way for customers to sign up. I heard what you were saying about some of your elderly clientele, and what we supply Krish and his team with is what we call smart leads. And that allows us to do not knock, do not solicit. Those are all completely scrubbed out of there. So if anyone in your town should have doesn't want us to come to the door, perfectly fine. Those lists are easy to access and easy to put off. Those immediately flow right through to where Krish's leads are, so that they simply do not. If we go to the door, for example, and someone is, just doesn't want us to come back again, we call it dispositioning our leads. It's all electronic, and it flows through our system, so it goes right off of those lead lists, so that no one is bothered by quote unquote door to door, right? On the door to door side, they undergo unbelievable amounts of training so that they're comfortable with our products and services. They understand when they go to the door how to help that customer to navigate through. One of the things that we found in popularity of the neighboring towns that we service, I think most of you know that ACP has, that federal program is now, the funding has run out for that. So a lot of your low-income constituents are not being able to have internet anymore. And of course, that's extraordinarily important, whether it's schooling, whether it's work from home, things like that. So Verizon's taken on an added financial cost for ourselves to give a Verizon discount right off the bill. It also allows us, give your constituents 6 months worth of free internet as well. There's a level that we're able to go to for them, so that they're able to see whether that service is right for them. So we've really worked really hard to make sure that we are providing your constituents with what it is that they need. We meet them where they're at with well-trained representatives that are able to place those orders, rather than your constituents having to call in, navigate, especially those older clientele, navigate, the phone system or be expected to kind of navigate the online. We go through a vetting process with all of our sales agents. So all of that we feel like would be highly beneficial for you.
Thank you. Does any counselor have any questions for Verizon? Counselor Robinson.
It's not a question, and thank you for explaining to us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
It's just weird to me having a door-to-door when, in fact, if I'm interested to purchase a Verizon product, which is a communication, why would I entertain somebody from the door? I would just go online and research, or talk to, if I'm an elderly, talk to my younger members in the family to tell me more about it. I still very not comfortable having people, disturbing you between that wee hours and selling something. Unfortunately, I cannot support this, Mr. Chairman.
Any other counselors have any questions? No. Again, I'll refer to the first. Speaking with Chief Reddy, it's a concern of his for door-to-door sales throughout the city. There's a number of companies that are doing it without permitting. They're aggressive sales, and I'm not suggesting that your company is doing any of those that I mentioned, but it is a concern that he shares. It's a concern that our constituents share with us on a daily basis, and because of that, I ask that for the support to deny the door-to-door sale approval for this petition. Do we have a motion by the committee or any further discussion? Any motion?
Motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion at all on the motion to deny? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That license to door-to-door sales is denied. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could I mention one more thing to you?
Sure.
Thank you. I understand, and I certainly thank you for, being able to allow us to come here today. Oftentimes, what we do is we call it pop-up, meaning that we're able to, with permission, we have a pop-up podium so that we position ourselves around your city where some of your clientele is able to come to us directly if they want to come to us, rather than us go
I think
to
that
them.
would go through public
property. Is that
property.
something that you'd be willing to do?
Yeah, that's possible. I'm
Great.
okay for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think,
Those are different.
combining maybe with a suggestion, maybe to combine with a business that has property in the city and you want to have the pop-up that you mentioned there. That would be something that would be exclusive with that business. If it's on public property, that would go towards through the Public Property Committee from the City Council.
Public Property Committee. Terrific. Thank you
you.
very much for that. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate your time.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to a canning request.
We have Lynn Classical High School class of 2027, adults only, on June 23rd, 2024.
What's the wish of the
Motion to
committee?
approve.
We have a motion to approve, just seconded. Any discussion? None. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That is granted for that canning date. Do we have any other business, Madam Clerk?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, before we adjourn, is anybody from Tipico Express in the audience? Is anybody representing Tipico Express? No. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
What is the wish of the committee with no new business?
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion
Second.
to adjourn, second, all in favor? Aye, opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Lorraine Gately been stealing. Lorraine Gately leaves my desk. She steals. A little one, yeah. I'm gonna go.
I'm ready.
Good evening, everyone. Today, June 11th, 2024, I would like to call the Utilities Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Councillor Alonso?
Present.
Present. Councillor McLean?
Present.
Present. Councillor Hogan?
Present.
Present. Councillor Meji Madre?
Present.
Present. Councillor Meany? I saw him here.
It's around.
Okay.
Okay, we have one item on the agenda. Madam Clerk, please read them.
Petition of National Grid to install conduit beginning at the intersection of Deer Cove Street and Courier Road, continuing to the property line at 203 Lynn Shore Drive.
Sir, name, address for the record, please.
My name is John Jankowski, 170 Medford Street in Malden, Mass. I'm representing National Grid. The service at 203 Lynn Shore Drive requested to upgrade their underground electrical service. It is inadequate for the new load, so National Grid would like to install about 20 feet of PVC conduit from an existing manhole to their property line. And if I have any questions or concerns, I'd be happy to answer.
Just take your seat, sir. We'll finish the public hearing, and if there's councilors who would like to ask a question, we will call you. Thank you. Anybody here wish to speak in favor? In favor? In favor, seeing none, the part of the hearing is closed. Anybody, you want to speak in favor, sir? Oh, no, you're just waving. Anybody here wish to speak in opposition? Opposition? Opposition. Seeing none, the part of the hearing is closed. Councilor Meji Madri, this is your ward, ma'am.
Thank you. I do have a question for you.
Sir,
please,
can you go back? Thank you.
Can you just, I didn't hear a little bit of what you said at the end. You said can you just explain again, you're installing a conduit or?
Yes, we're going to install about 20 feet of PVC conduit underground from an existing manhole to their property line.
Okay. And so you will be going through the ground, like through the street?
Yeah,
Do that?
no, it's just on the manhole is on the sidewalk. It'll be in the sidewalk to the property line.
Okay, so we'll be on the sidewalk?
Yep.
Great. So my concern is just to make sure that once you break the sidewalk, that it's put back the way it was, if not better.
Yep.
Thank you.
So what's the wish of the committee?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, petition carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, what is the wish of the committee?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Saying aye? Okay. Everybody's.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ways and Means Committee meeting. Madam Clerk, I call the meeting to order. Please roll call.
Counsel Net?
Present.
Present Counsel Hogan?
Present.
Present Counsel Chakutis? Absent Counsel Walsh?
Present.
Present Counsel Field? Present.
Could you please read transfer?
And we have $2,000 from the election expense to the election payroll to fund precinct payroll for the presidential primary.
What's the Which Committee?
Motion approved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis, absent. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes.
And certified funds, please read.
$3,873,826 from the ARPA funds for the use by CD and ISD to fund ARPA park projects.
Motion approved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis, absent. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
We have $355,828 for fiscal year 2025 summer youth jobs.
What's the Which Committee?
Motion approved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes. $1,513,007.80 to the City of Lynn by the Transportation Bond Bill, Chapter 90 for FY25.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
$313,518 to the Health Department for the COVID-19 case investigations and contact tracing program.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes. $227,843 to the School Department for the FY25 CPPI Cohort 3 Grant Program.
Motion approved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes. $102,060 to the School Department for the FC 127 Promoting Safe and Healthy Learning Grant Program.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes.
Orders, please.
We have ordered that the City of Lynn hereby accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 9B.
What's the Which Committee?
Motion approved.
Yes, second.
Just got a question real quick. What
Okay,
is that?
go ahead,
If I
Mr.
could.
President. Yeah.
What is that? Just so we.
Jim, could you explain that?
Request from the Personnel Department. This will entitle retirees to additional health insurance benefits.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes. Order that the City of Lynn hereby accepts the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 9D.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes. Order that the City of Lynn hereby accepts the provisions of Mass General Law 32B, Section 9D and a half.
Motion approved.
Second.
Do you hear second?
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes. Order that the City of Lynn hereby accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 16.
Motion approved.
Second.
Yeah, okay, roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
So I think,
And order to accept the adoption of proposed ordinances for all existing revolving funds that the City of Lynn desires to maintain with the caps and annual spending limits. All of these will be read in full council.
Motion approved.
Second.
roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Spencer, are you here? Is any emergency? This? All emergency, okay.
Motion for emergency.
Second.
Roll call, all emergency.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
Okay, what's any new business? What's the Waste Committee?
Motion adjourned.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
I was going to say that they were treating the ponds.
I'd like to call the Tuesday, June 11th council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Counsel Allensburg.
Present.
Present Counsel Chakutis.
Present.
Present Counsel Field.
Present.
Present Counsel Hogan.
Present.
Present Counsel LaPierre.
Present.
Present Counsel Matul.
Present.
Present Counsel McLean.
Present.
Present Counsel Amini.
Present.
Present Counsel Meji Madre.
Present.
Present Counsel Net.
Present.
Present Counsel Walsh.
Present. We all rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'd like to give a shout out to the family of Mr. Lou Bird.
What happened?
Flag still at Manning Field? I got one of my own.
We got one of the fin? Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Apparently, they took them to the schools, so sorry about that. For the graduations. We'll have someone accept the minutes from May 28th, 2024.
Accept.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any communications?
No communications.
Public hearings, Councilor LaPierre.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules by moving public hearing on the ordinance regarding salary increases for the City Council and school committee members to the first public hearing.
We have a motion. We have a second on that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. First hearing, public hearing ordinance regarding salary increases for the council and the school committee. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Come up to the podium, give us your name.
My name is Lenny Pena, I'm a lifelong Lynn resident, and I'm speaking in favor for a raise for the school committee and the council. There's tireless hours that as you know, my colleagues and myself, we put in, and it's been a long time since there was a raise in the school committee. I believe it was my former colleague was on the school committee for 24 years, and there hasn't been a raise on the stipend. And you know, with the cost of living, you know, our fuel prices, and there's a lot of hours that we commit to the city and the public, and we contribute to a lot of nonprofits. We're always donating and spending our time. There's a lot of hours that my colleagues and the council spends on there, and I believe it's, you know, it's well deserving. You know, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
My name is Paul Guthrow, 14 Cameron Road. First, please pardon my attire in this chamber and in front of this council. I came straight from practice here, so I wouldn't miss these public hearings. I'd like to speak in favor of the pay increase for both the councilors and the school committee folks. I have something personal I'll share with you that kind of puts it in perspective as to why I think this should be approved. When I first retired from GE, I was then rehired as a rehired pensioner, and my pay rate as I was a rehired pensioner for 4 years stayed the same. And inflation wore it down, you know, a couple 3% each year. And then the pandemic inflation wore it down even further. So the relationship of that to this pay increase for the councilors and the school committee folks is they both have expenses. And we need to increase their pay to keep up with inflation and to keep up with the cost of things that they have expenses for. So I speak in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor?
Hi, good evening. Hunter Richard, Greystone Park. I'd like to speak in favor of this motion. I believe the City Council and the School Committee, the raise that they've requested is competitive and reasonable with similar sized towns and cities across Massachusetts. I think, as others have noted, this is a full-time job that requires full-time attention. And this raise, while folks typically will take on other jobs and responsibilities outside of this role, and I think finally this would introduce and encourage others to step into a role that plays a critical position in our city government. So I stand in favor of this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, that part of the hearing is closed. Anybody in opposition? Anybody that would like to speak in opposition, come up to the podium.
Hi, Joanne Lindner, 302 Linwood Street. I'm not in favor of this because I don't feel the city is in a financial position to be giving out raises. If you look at cities and towns in this area that are in better economic position than we are, Salem, it's only 15,000. Peabody, it's 11,000. Beverly, it's 14,000. Now, I know there's been some talk that the city councilors do not have laptops. I certainly would be in favor of the city purchasing a laptop for the city councilors, but it's a city's laptop. I don't think that that should be put on them. However, with that said, we also have not adopted the internet as a means of communication according to the charter. So maybe you should think about adopting the internet as a means of communication. And speaking of the charter, there is a charter committee ongoing. Why not let them decide? That's what they're supposed to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Calvin Anderson, 12 Concord Street. I remember when this came up under Mayor Kennedy's, and they did some kind of a deal where at the time, I believe, the mayor's salary was tied with the council salary. So if the council voted itself a raise, the mayor would get a raise, or there was 15% of the mayor's salary was designated as the salaries, whatever. Anyway, I do want to speak to the positive of this proposal, and that's the fact that it wouldn't take place until all of these, the sitting existing councilors were either reelected or not. It takes place, I guess, in 2026. So that was fair. That was very good looking at that. I don't know firsthand, but I understand that Mayor Nicholson said that he wouldn't accept the increase. And I'm just saying, from a senior citizen on fixed and limited income, every once in a while the Social Security throws us a COLA. So why not consider a COLA type of increments instead of a binge and purge every X years? Why not have a COLA plan so that every year things change a little bit or whatever, build that into it. And add to that term limits.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, that part of the hearing is closed. What is the wish of the council? Council Lapierre?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through some research that we did with our colleagues on the school committee and through our city charter, I just want to point out a few things, and I don't want to steal everyone's thunder if others want to speak on it, but we did deliberate over this issue for many months, and you know, it is the charter and it is through ordinance. That's the only way that elected officials can increase their salaries. And to the point that one of the dissenting speakers made, this will not be a budgetary item for this year, starting on July 1. It is spread across 2 fiscal years. We found that to be a very responsible way to sort of put this into effect over a series of budgetary years, which would be upon the next election cycle, the municipal election cycle in 2025. And then it would not begin until, of course, new councilors and new school committee members were sworn into office in January of 2026. And it would be a modest amount increase for both the council and the school committee. And my figures say it's around $3,750 for councilors for year 1. And that would also be in year 2. And we wanted to create a balance. The school committee currently, as Mr. Pena said, has not gone up in salary since the 1980s, as our records show. They are at a woeful $9,000 per year. There was a consolidation back in 2014 of the council salary that merged the expenses with the salary, but not a real increase. So to Mr. Anderson's point as well on the dissent, we did look at COLA, cost of living adjustments, And this raise will be reflective of the last decade of our municipal workers' contracts and their increases. It's just we weren't in a position to do it in the past, so we took and averaged out their raises over that period of time. And again, if you look at our monthly pay stubs currently, we're just a hair over $15, which is the state minimum wage. So there are a lot of factors going into this, but I think the overarching factor, and people have said it, it's a part-time job, yes, but it requires full-time hours. It requires counselors to be available, accessible. 30, 40 years ago, this council was given a pager, and a pager was used to communicate with your city councilor. That meant that someone would have to find you, know that pager number. You'd have to go to a payphone, perhaps, or to your home phone or your business phone, wherever you were, and call back your constituent. I venture to say times have changed in 2024. This council and this school committee are accessible morning, noon, and night. Both Saturdays, Sundays, vacations, evenings, you name it. By messenger, by Facebook, by social media platforms, by text, by email, by Terry, by phone call, if anyone picks up the phone anymore. So we're accessible, and that's part of it, but we're not doing it. As I said, the overarching rationale for this is to recruit others, set this up for the next generation of elected officials in Lynn. Make this an attractive job that people want to seek, earn, and serve. With that said, I vote to approve.
Let's make a motion to approve. We have a second.
Second.
Any other discussion?
I would like to say, I just want to go on record saying that this also removes barriers and makes this job accessible, as Councilor Arpia was saying, to people with varied incomes. It's very important that this is attractive to every income level so that everybody has access to being a political official in our city and can't afford to be. It can't just be for people who own their own businesses or who come from wealthy families who are able to take this little bit of pay every month. It needs to be accessible to all people that live in our city. So I just wanted to go on record saying that this is a way of removing a barrier to the political office.
Any other discussion from any councils? Roll call.
Council Harlan-Sugg.
Yes.
Yes. Council Chakutis.
Yes.
Yes. Council Field.
Yes.
Yes. Council Hogan.
Yes.
Yes. Council LaPierre.
Yes.
Yes. Council Matul.
Yes.
Yes. Council McLean.
Yes.
Yes. Council Meany.
Yes.
Yes. Council Madre.
Yes.
Yes. Council Net.
Yes.
Yes. Council Walsh.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next public hearing.
The next public hearing we have is on the FY25 City of Lynn budget.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor? The mayor, come on up to the podium.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, councilors. Thanks so much for having me this evening. I've had the opportunity to speak with many of you to answer your individual questions and appreciate this opportunity to share an overview. We are pleased to present you a balanced budget for this fiscal year in the amount of $517 million. And as you know, we are continuing our commitment to fiscal discipline. That's really become the city's practice over the last few years, and we're able to provide key services that our residents rely on and make important investments while also maintaining that fiscal responsibility that in a way that's consistent with the best interests of our residents. I think it's important for us to drive home here tonight that the city faces a serious and recurring structural deficit, as it has for years. And just to give folks a sense of what that means, if we were just to level fund every item in the budget, meaning they would only increase to the extent that they were required to increase, when you start the budget process, we have a deficit. The expected expenses are more than the revenues that we project. And obviously we can't pass a budget like that. We have to pass a balanced budget, and so that means we have to cut creative solutions to make sure that those expenses are in line with the projected revenues. So to give folks a sense of what is contributing to that deficit, I think it's just part of the conversation to understand what is driving the increase in expenses. And a part of that is the increase in required school spending. And I want to be clear in saying that our school spending is absolutely money well spent. We have students who have great needs, and the number of students that we educate continues to grow. And absolutely, public education is one of the most important things that we do as a city. And so taking nothing away from the importance, I just think it's important that we all understand what the dynamics are fiscally, so that people know what the rationale is when we're making these recommendations about funding, about where sort of the money is going. And also, I think that level of transparency is important when we're working with our state delegation to advocate for changes to these formulas about how the state calculates the local contribution. So, the goal is to get some fixes that give the city an ability to make investments in other purposes in addition to what we're spending on education, not taking anything away from education. But just so how it works, under Chapter 70, the state calculates how much it's going to cost to educate our students, and then using a formula, they calculate the local share of that spending. And the difference between the total cost of the education budget and what we are deemed to be able to afford is provided by the state. And if you remember several years ago, the position the city ended up in by failing to meet the school spending requirements, you know that it's important that we meet our share, the net school spending requirement, that's determined by that formula. Given our situation here, the state pays for the majority of our budget by a long shot. But the issue that we have is that our share has been increasing at a rate that's greater than the amount of money that we can draw from. So that's what's putting a lot of the pressure on the city's finances and a contributor to the structural deficit. To give you a sense of the scale that we're talking about, we've gotten about $10 million in new growth over the last 5 years. Our required local education contribution over the same time period has increased by 11 million. So you see that is a major part of where the money is going, and local revenue from a lot of our sources is capped. The state aid is a fixed amount determined by the budget in the state. The property tax is capped by Proposition 2.5 at 2.5%. So everything besides new growth is not going to experience major swings. And if we need to fund line items that are greater than the growth rate, that means that you have to cut other areas. So those limits on the revenue is what makes the new growth so important. And we continue to do everything we can to encourage positive new growth. We talk about that a lot, particularly the commercial and industrial growth. It's a major focus of Vision Lynn, the city's first comprehensive plan that we adopted last year. And we had a win last year fiscally, as well as other purposes in the South Harbor project that you approved in December. And it will take time to realize that for sure, but that's a $450 million investment that will hopefully result in a significant increase in the tax base as one example. I also think it's important to highlight other ways that we're overcoming the limitations that we have in our operating budget. One way is grants, and the city is aggressive, and the departments we have are aggressive in trying to find those grants. Some examples this year is that the library was able to add security through their state library funds. The fire department was able to make some investments in fire prevention at Lynn Woods with a grant that they received from the state. The senior center is able to hire a community health worker through their Council on Aging funds. I met today our new forestry specialist who we're hiring from a state energy and environmental affairs grant. Our DEI director received a grant to do an equity audit with the personnel department from this Division of Local Services, and a lot of our road projects that you see around the city, including Blossom Street and Linway, those are all grant funded, as an example of all the grants that the city's getting. And the deficit that we're talking about is in the operating budget, and so we continue to have more flexibility on our capital funds, the one-time funds that we have, notably with the American Rescue Plan Act fund, and I think it's important for us to remember that that's no longer going to be a resource after this calendar year, because it all has to be allocated in 2024, but we'll continue to see the benefits of those investments in affordable housing that we've made, in fixing streets and sidewalks, in parks all around the city are good examples of that and prominent examples of that. And a lot of those parks projects are breaking ground as we speak, which is, I think, a really exciting moment for all of us. Also, as a result of the fiscal discipline, we have a reserve of free cash, and that's, as you know, money that we put into reserves and then also spend on some one-time expenses, capital expenditures. And in this budget, you see that we have some really important capital investments, including 16 police cars, a new fire ladder truck, and a few heavy vehicles for the DPW. Another source of the one-time funds is the debt that we issue. And as you all know, we're preparing to issue a large issuance over the next 2 or 3 years to fund Pickering, $62 million, which is our major effort to address our overcrowded classrooms. And as you know, last year we successfully paid off the deficit bonds that we needed in 2018 to balance the budget, which was ahead of schedule and really part of what created the capacity for us to be able to go out and borrow for the Pickering Middle School, which was a strategy that was planned by our Chief Financial Officer, Michael Bertino, and working with the State Fiscal Stability Officer at the time. And then I think another example worth highlighting of a project paid for by debt financing is the reconstruction of the Fayette Street Fire Station, which is scheduled to begin in a few months. So we did start with a structural deficit this year. It was closed at a variety of steps, including transitioning inspection work that was previously done by outside vendors to in-house union employees, and the selection of the new trash hauling contract, which offers better value, more budget certainty, and savings for our residents for the cost of bulk item removal. And we should know that we're facing a significant structural deficit for next year as well, and we'll need to continue to work to address that. We are always looking to improve city services, even with the revenue constraints we have, and I think an example of an improvement from this year is the new C-Click Fix mobile application, which allows constituents to upload photos of issues they have and track their resolution. And we really work hard to meet constituents where they are, and have done that literally in a cost-effective way twice in the last year by canvassing neighborhoods heavily affected by community violence. And as I think we all agree, safety is a top priority, and the Lynn Police Department has made great strides this year recruiting qualified local applicants, Lynn applicants, with a marketing campaign that they executed, which yielded a 50% increase in local recruits for their next class. So our departments and employees are always looking for ways to improve operations, deliver value to constituents, and the budget that we've proposed is the financial blueprint for how we plan to do that this year. So I want to thank everyone involved in the development of the budget. I worked with all of you, and particularly Council President Welsh and Councilor LaPierre as the chair of the Budget Committee. I want to thank our Chief Financial Officer, Michael Bertino, as well as his whole team, all our department heads, my team in the mayor's office, and really the entire team for all the folks that work for the city of Lynn. We're able to do this with all of our shared effort and commitment, and I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the budget? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Come on up to the podium.
Paul Guthrow, 14 Cameron Road. I think this budget is impressive. I certainly don't know the details nor the detailed work that all the departments have done. But as most of you know, when the department head spoke to the Budget Committee just a few weeks ago, you guys had some great questions, and it goes to show that you guys are really interested in this budget and really interested in all the departments' works throughout the city. I just want to touch upon a couple of things from the mayor's letter at the beginning of the budget. This budget continues the fiscal discipline that has become the city's practice over the last few years. We continue to provide key services and make important investments while staying fiscally responsible, consistent with the best interest of our residents. The mayor just touched upon a couple of, I'd call them critical relationships with the state. You know, how they calculate the formula for the school stipend that we get. And also the, you know, look at the MSBA for, building thing for the Pickering Middle School. Luckily, they changed that formula, the MSBA, and we were able to afford a new Pickering Middle School at quite a few $1 million less. So we are very reliant on the state. But this budget also shows, and I don't know this for sure, but I can see it from the outside, everyone in this city, all the department heads, all the people that work in those departments, have gone and done their homework and tried to whittle this down into this budget. And I just want to commend them. There's a lot of department heads behind me and other employees in the departments, and I want to give them kudos for working hard on this budget to get what we're getting at this cost. So again, I hope to, I speak in favor of this budget, and I hope you guys do too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor, come up to the podium.
Good evening, Hunter Richard of Greystone Park. I'd like to speak in favor of the budget. I echo what the previous speakers have said. I've read through the budget. It shows fiscal discipline. Clearly a lot of work from the department heads. The mayor has gone into this budget. One thing I do want to note is it's interesting to note that this budget will be one of the last, or maybe into next year, that ARPA will be a source of funds for the city, and I think a lot of great investments have been made. But I implore the city council, the mayor, and the department heads to recognize that there is a number of grant funding available from the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law that will be coming online in a 10-year period. So while ARPA is ending, there's a number of grants, so please be aggressive in those pursuits. And I think ARPA provides the city with an interesting experience where you learned about the grant process and about mobilizing teams in City Hall to go after these grants, which can be challenging to write. And so please don't lose that knowledge and that experience of that ARPA team that the city invested in to deploy that funding when you look at the broader landscape of federal funds. So I just make that point, and to really be aggressive in going after those grants, whether that's in climate, infrastructure, weatherization. There's a lot of programs out there that are still on the table. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone want to speak in favor?
Just 1 second. If you could take 1 minute, though, and please put the American flag up in that little pole there, I'll be able to speak in favor.
Okay.
Please, right, I think it'll fit right where that pen holds.
Put it right here, Jeffrey.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, put it over. All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak? Come on up to the podium.
Michael Bertino, City CFO. Just as more of a point of information about the gentleman who just spoke, I just want to say that the school building committee for Pickering has really been all over the Inflation Reduction Act, and we've met at least a half a dozen times with our financial advisors and tax professionals, and we should be on board to receive anywhere from $5 to $7 million from that bill that passed about a year ago. It's going to take us a couple of years to complete the work, but that the committee and the mayor are very aggressively going after that source of funds.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, that part of the hearing is closed. Anybody want to speak in opposition to the budget? Anyone want to speak in opposition? Anyone in opposition? Seeing none, that part of the hearing is closed. What is the wish of the council? Councilor Jacutis?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Second. Any discussion?
I'd like to say
Councilor Mee.
something. So I first want to acknowledge all the hard work that goes into the department heads, Bertino, the mayor's office. There's a lot of people working very hard on this budget. With that being said, I think it's irresponsible of us to vote on a budget that cuts city services, specifically in the fire and police department, in a city that's growing at a rapid rate. And for that reason, I would encourage my fellow council members to vote against this budget.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Any other discussion on it? Councilor Field.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to kind of point out something of caution. I mentioned last week at our budget meeting, and I mentioned it in discussions with the mayor and those in the mayor's office, and not just this year, but in years past. I know a number of years ago, this council worked very hard with then Mayor McGee to create a position, and by creating that position within a department, it increases the budget. And being fiscally responsible and working through challenges through all departments to increase for a position, and as co-chair of the Litter Committee along with Council Vice President Jacutis, to see that position not be established as to what the vision was for that position, I caution any commission or commissioner or department head to use such funding in an inappropriate way, or in a way, rather, that it wasn't designed for, and respectfully mention that this body of council doesn't have the authority to increase a budget, but it certainly has the authority to decrease it. And with that said, I just want to caution all department heads, and not someone specifically, that when we are taking these considerations seriously, that those positions that are created, the funding is used for such position. And a second comment, I just want to comment on Mr. Richard. I appreciate the comments that he made as far as further grant funding, and appreciate Mr. Bertino for the clarification of those. And I want to just respectfully appreciate yourself and Councilor Lapierre, who chairs the Budget Committee, along with the Mayor's Office, and Mr. Bertino and all department heads for the hard work they do to put into this budget.
Okay.
I encourage my colleagues to support it.
All right, any other discussion? Councilor Arlington.
Thank you, Mr. President. To piggyback with what Councilor Field mentioned, Mr. Richard is a Ward 3 resident, and in fact, he recommended some links for us, for the city to apply for federal grants. We did that. It was approved. We get hundreds of thousands of dollars. We got brand new trees because of that grant, and I appreciate him coming here and mentioning that, because it's not all about the city, it's also about all of us as a city and as a community, that if you see something out there, tell us. And who knows, we have a team of experts here who can make those applications, and we will get more money out of it too.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Just to echo that, I mean, Ways and Means, most of what we accept are grants that somebody wrote and people worked hard on. You watch the Ways and Means Committee, and those dollars being tossed around are because people out there are working on it. They're making it happen. So, you know, we take them in all the time. Any other discussion? Councilor Lapierre.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to say a word about Mr. Hunter Richard, because he is, I believe, the foremost smartest Lynn Public School graduate that this system has ever turned out. And I don't say that lightly. We've had brilliant people, but Hunter stands in a class by himself, and my wife happened to teach him, so I'm a little biased.
So are you the second? Are you the second most person in the school system, Council?
I might be the second,
Okay.
but I never brag about that, Mr. President.
Okay.
I'm very humble, as you know. But Hunter is a real diamond, lives in the Diamond District, and he's a terrific person, great family. So that being said, our role, my role, this council's role as chair of this year's budget, I feel like we've done our due diligence. I feel like it's the mayor's budget. The mayor presents it to us, As Councilor Field has duly noted, we have an ability to cut departments. We don't have an ability to add. This is a huge budget. I remember harking back, I'm going back 30 years to 1995. I'm always in a time warp, as you know. I'm back in the time machine. The total city budget was a couple $100 million. Total city, school, city. You know, now you look at over 500, or $500 million, and half of that, over 250 million, go right to the schools that we have no control over. It's Chapter 70 money. So when you look at that financial outlook, and I respect what the mayor is saying around deficits and so forth, structural deficits, but there are always ways out of that. I've heard structural deficits in the city for decades. And one way, and I really appreciate, I think, a superstar department head in Jessica Ciappini, our parking department head, for providing us with actual revenue, because her department provides revenue to our city, much needed revenue. And I will point out that her office, since taking office, her department, since taking this position in the fall, is up around $700,000 in revenue. And that's on top of, we just climbed over $2 million in this fiscal year with another couple weeks to go, which was $1.4 million just last year. So as we put together a real robust enforcement system in our parking department, thanks to her and her team, we are seeing growth. We are seeing growth in all the areas around permitting for the South Harbor. We're seeing growth around our cannabis, our local meals tax, our ticket sales in Lynn Auditorium. We're doing everything we can to help the mayor be a revenue source, a source of revenue to grow this budget in the right way without putting the burden totally on the Lynn taxpayer. We always, as you know, Mr. President, pass the lowest by law property tax in December of each year. So thank you for the public hearing that we had with department heads on June 4th last week. It was almost a 4-hour meeting. Some new councilors got to come up and obviously ask questions. I don't think they realized just how long the budget process is and the budget hearing is itself, but that was a great lesson in civics for all of us to partake in, and I really want to support this budget, and hats off to everyone who was involved in its proposal. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Will the clerk read the budget?
Mayor and incidental payroll, $719,339. Expense, $293,634. Administrative aid to the council, payroll, $464,700. Expense, $43,865. Clerk of council, payroll, $3,000. Expense, $0. Chief financial officer, payroll, $411,212. Expense, $10,900. Comptroller, payroll, $390,251. Expense, $124,310. Treasurer, payroll, $403,076. Expense, $95,125. Collector, payroll, $238,815. Expense, $18,140. Assessor, payroll, $691,771. Expense, $81,050. Capital, City clerk, payroll, $666,870. Expense, $134,250. License commission, payroll, $31,602. Expense, $2,200. Precinct payroll offices, $100,000. Purchasing payroll, $440,997. Expense, $51,816. IT department payroll, $352,955. Expense, $1,081,556. Unemployment compensation, $50,000. Workman's compensation, $725,000. Personnel department, payroll, $378,320. Expense, $99,914. City solicitor, payroll, $592,210. Expense, $172,805. Awards and executions, $19,447. City Inspectional Services Department, payroll, $2,107,952. Expense, $3,375,275. School Inspectional Services Department payroll, $5,502,985. Expense, $20,600,800. Oh, I'm sorry, 600. Wait a minute. 800? $45,902. Capital, $429,830. Planning and Culture payroll, $324,395. Expense, $75,300. Okay. Police Department, payroll, $23,800,127. Expense, $1,101,496. Capital, $1,140,672. Fire Department, payroll, $22,444,353. Expense, $1,193,880. Capital, $1,708,000. Fire alarm payroll, $940,220. Expense, $77,092. Street lighting bills, $830,000. Emergency management expense, $16,550. Harbor master payroll, $2,100. Expense, $5,040. Office of Animal Control payroll, $88,347. Expense, $49,510. School Department, $249,450,000. DPW, payroll, $4,003,635. Expense, $12,539,649. Capital, $1,230,000. Parking Department payroll, $960,045. Expense, $321,565. Council on Aged payroll, $231,171. Office of Veterans payroll, $253,952. Expense, $23,459. Veterans benefits, $525,000. The library payroll, $1,108,343. Expense, $171,879. Celebrations, Independence Day, $10,500. The GAR building payroll, $71,271. Expense, $23,302. Non-departmental capital, $2,688,122 for insurance. Health and life insurance, $51,254,859. Reserve fund, $1,380,808. FICA match, $4,070,744. And what else do we have? Indebtedness, interest, $1,994,639. Bonds, $3,970,000. Deficit payments, $2,474,614. The retirement board, $40,026,804. Offset amounts to be raised, $43,534,484. And the total budget is $517,267,001. Okay. Okay, and we have two orders attached to the budget. Raise and appropriate the sum of $140,964 from the account of the Gannon Enterprise Rev Fund to the account of the Gannon Expense Repairs. And order that the City of Lynn raise and appropriate $473,732. $473,732,572, including $4,508,502 in free cash for the FY25 budget. Further order that the City of Lynn is hereby approves His Honor the Mayor's recommended 2025 payroll and expenditure allocations for each department and municipal purpose as submitted and attached to this council order.
Attorney Lamanna, could you come to the podium for 1 second? Can you just explain those last 2 items that came up, please?
So they probably were read backwards. So that the last one is the actual budget, and it broke down into individual departments that were all read. So they can be voted on as a package.
I just wanted to be clear with everybody know what that is. Okay. All right. We have a motion, second. Roll call.
Counselor Alanson?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Field?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Hogan?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor LaPierre?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Matul?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor McLean?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Meany?
No.
No. Counselor Meji Madre?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Net?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes.
Budget passes. Next public hearing.
I feel like I lost my way
lot of
here.
reading.
Hold on a
A
second.
round of applause for the clerk. Huh? She's doing a good job, right?
Okay, we're moving on to a public hearing on the bond order to purchase the Eastern Bank Building at 195 Market Street.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor of purchasing the property, come on up to the podium. Your name for the record, please.
Hello, Daniel Smith. I'm the policy director in the mayor's office. Thanks for having us up here. On behalf of Mayor Nicholson, I'd like to speak in a strong support of this bond authorization. We believe that this acquisition is a significant opportunity to address space needs in the Lynn Public Schools. As many of you know, 195 Market Street currently serves as the headquarters for Eastern Bank. In recent years, there's been a significant reduction in its occupancy, which has sort of catalyzed Eastern Bank to put the building on the market. At the same time, we've seen increases, significant increases in the need for classroom space for Lynn Public School students. I've given the example previously of by allowing us to move staff from the first floor of Bennett Street into the upper floors of our property at 37 Friend Street. This has allowed us to create 8 classrooms for 180 pre-K students, and that is exactly what we plan to do with this building, to centralize administrative functions. We have the use of the early college program, which currently operates out of North Shore Community College, and there will be more space as well. The annual debt service on these bonds is estimated at around $670,000 annually, which would be less than the current amount that the Lynn Public Schools pays on their leases. And the way that this works in terms of school and municipal finance is that any school department lease beyond 3 years becomes a city expense. So we believe that we can absorb this annual debt service. And thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Come on up to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lenny Pena, School Committee. I'm speaking in favor of this purchase. Not only does it make sense, as you heard the mayor speak earlier, we're spending a lot of money, especially with our school budget now. Purchasing this building, but it's like, we're thinking outside the box. We're going to open up spaces, classroom, for our students, which is, as we all know, our schools are overcrowded. Our students deserve it, and not only do our students, but our teachers deserve more space for our children. This makes sense. It costs us a lot of money to lease some of the spaces that we have, and this is just going to free up space, and owning it makes sense. Our students deserve it. Our teachers, our educators deserve, for us to have more space. I mean, we have almost 17,000 students. There's a unique situation in, and we got to think outside the box to open up, free up space for our students and our educators. And our students deserve it. So I'm in favor, speaking in favor.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? One second.
If you don't know by now, Paul Guthrow, 14 Cameron Road. This is a building we should buy. No question about it. The buildings we've purchased in the past they weren't all that great, but this one is great. It's going to serve a major purpose for the collegiate academy that's going to go in there and the administrative offices of the school department. The building's already built. It's not in bad shape. I haven't been in there. I haven't inspected it, but it's relatively new. The numbers add up. It's a win-win. The debt service on the bonds is going to be about $670,000. The savings on all the leases, the consolidation of the leases, is going to be $750,000. So we're going to be ahead of the game. I really think that this building should be bought by the city. It's going to be a challenge authorizing bonds for $12 million, but I think it's going to be worth it, and I hope you all vote in favor of this bond authorization. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Come up to the podium.
It's just a question for clarity. Mr. Pena already spoke, but they said for administrative only, or are they going to have...
Jeffrey, you got to talk with me.
I'm sorry, Jeffrey Erikioffer.
Yeah, we'll ask that question afterwards, okay?
Well, I just can't vote without clarity. Is it administrative only, or is it class?
So it's for administrative purposes.
Only?
Yes, correct.
That many built?
Correct.
Well, I'm not in favor.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Yep.
Yeah, just want to share a little clarity. There will be classrooms, Jeffrey.
Okay.
The Collegiate Academy.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Seeing that part of the hearing is closed. Anybody in opposition to it? Anybody want to speak in opposition? Come on up to the podium.
Yeah, Joanne Lindner, 302 Linwood Street, Lynn. I'm not in favor of this because well, I just learned that I guess there are going to be children in there. However, you've bought Century Bank, you're using part of the senior center, you're going to lose $400,000 in tax revenue, and then we got to pay back almost $700,000 for the bond. That's $1.1 million. I'd like to know how that money is going to be replaced. We heard about level funding for the budget. There's no money. I think that this is a poor use of our money. We also know that Tracy School needs to be replaced. I believe that's next in line. You can't keep spending like this, not if you're not bringing in any commercial businesses. The real estate people, our taxes, we can't afford it anymore. It's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Calvin Anderson, 12 Concord Street. I echo some of the previous speakers' sentiments. Also, here's a big building that Eastern, who, despite being a local bank, I guess the headquarters is there, I have personal experience with them redlining me when I first moved to town. They've caused some problems over the past 5 years, which are not resolved yet. It involves an international money transfer, and I don't know even the status of it now. They blame it on their pregnant clerk. Now, how convenient was that? Exploiting a woman who's going to be going out on her maternity leave. Things went down the tubes at that bank since Dick Reel retired, and now he's not even around here anymore. He passed on, but nobody minded the store after he left. Now, we're going to be losing some tax revenue on this. This building is a wonderful building, I admit. It is a good building, but let it go into the private hands, get back on the tax rolls, etc. And in recent times, the Century Bank building, the big plan was put 911 in the basement. Then I guess it was found out that, oh my gosh, there's a water situation. You know, it's, who vetted this building anyway? So now poor Mr. Sevenor has to, be, crammed in up at Wayne Alarm because the city still can't get out of what he wants to take over for his private business. So anyway, I've lost some little faith in the administration. There's been some good money spent after bad for the past few terms. The Cook Street wall that came down, and those monies were never replaced from the last bond. bond. I remember when you used to have to go to 4 million was the cap for bonds before it went before the voters. And I guess that switched in 2018. So what a convenient way to do it. So anyway, this stinks.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
I don't know about that. Good evening, Hunter Richard, Greystone Park. I'd like to speak with concern, not necessarily opposition, but I have some questions. I think this is a very interesting opportunity, and I thank the mayor's office and the mayor's team for, as someone mentioned, thinking outside of the box for a challenge that the city faces. I'd like to ask the mayor and the city council before voting on this to think about some key questions that I had when I saw the proposal. The first is the cost of the purchase versus the cost of ownership. I think what was mentioned was this comment of budget neutral in terms of the bond payment, but I asked the question of the cost of maintaining a 1970s building that will suddenly hit the city's cost, be part of a city expenditure, and the cost of the city's team to maintain that building. There was mention of the lost commercial tax revenue that the city would get. And are we able to replace that by lease revenue? It doesn't sound like it, because it sounds like most of the building will be dedicated to city use, not returning to the lease. I also asked the question of the cost to replace, retrofit these offices and use them for classroom uses. There was a comment made about repurposing an office building for a place our students deserve, and I would say let's build a building that our students can actually use for that purpose, not trying to retrofit an office building. You can imagine cubicles, and I saw in the listing there's a fitness center in a cafeteria, but not again for student use. My second point is on location. This is a 5-acre prime development site across the street from our commuter rail, 20 minutes to downtown Boston and a walking distance to our new ferry terminal, and we're going to take that off of the market. To me, that's very concerning. It's also not central to the residential areas of the city, so it is close to the bus lines, but how will folks get to that property? My last point is on the long-term plans of the property. Is there an opportunity in the future for maybe the city to lead redevelopment of this parcel? So maybe on the short term, the city could use this for the schools with a long-term vision of redeveloping the site, perhaps for mixed-use, residential, affordable housing. The last thing I'll note is, as many who have experienced living within a mile of the ocean, our property insurance has doubled in the past year, and this property sits in a floodplain, and so I'm curious of the property value in the long term and the insurance costs to insure this building. And lastly, the bond issue mention of the Tracy School, does this block other bond issues that the city could offer to pursue other buildings? So I just have a lot of questions that I think can be resolved, but just really ask the city council to dig into before they decide to proceed with this bond purchase.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up to the podium, give us your name.
Hi, my name is Diane. I have to say that a lot of the sentiments that the last person brought up were definitely things that he researched, and I appreciate that. I have definitely not done the numbers game and whether this type of purchase is really logistically something the city can handle and something that the city has proven itself to be able to develop well. When we already have, as you have mentioned, a little bit of a track record of buying some properties that haven't turned out to be best suited for what the city needs. We have buildings that we already recognize have not met our admin, our classroom goals. They're older buildings. And so taking a building from such a huge public entity like Bank of America, you're telling me they can't get a nice buyer in at Lynn and get us a nice company that fulfills people's banking needs, or excuse me, it's Eastern, fulfills people's banking needs, maybe fulfills some of what the community actually wants, such as a place to hang out in Lynn, a place to be in Lynn, a place to transact in Lynn, aside from our beautiful restaurants and our community college, really centrally located there as well. What do college students need? What does our city need beyond classrooms that could be facilitated in other community centers? We recently had a purchase of a public building that was previously a radio and television broadcasting building, and now it's a beautiful children's daycare. So it's a local place where people can actually have their children taken care of within their community. Are we sure that when we purchase this building for some of the needs, such as admin, for some of the classroom needs, that those cannot be met within the buildings that we already have, allowing that one to, as this other gentleman suggested, be something commercial, something that can bring money into Lynn, instead of something where we're asking for money and we can't even afford it. So that's,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing that part of the hearing is closed, what's the wish of the council?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to
Second.
approve. We have a second. Discussion. Councilor Meany.
Yes, so once again, I cannot state enough how irresponsible this is for the city of Lynn to be doing. For a city that wants to increase commercial revenue, we seem to have a bad habit of appropriating the most valuable commercial real estate in the city. Okay, this property is going to go from a revenue generator to a constant expense. Just to put it for example, the only buyers that we could find for this building wanted to demo and rebuild. So we're going into a money pit, and it's ridiculous. You know, we tried the same thing where we have a bad habit of buying banks. We bought the Century Bank. 2 of the units are empty. We didn't go with plan. And now Wayne Alam, on a budget we just passed, is jacking up the prices because they have all the leverage. You know, we're still going to have overcrowding in the school system. It's going to be a behemoth to retrofit the Bennett Street building. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? This is why we don't have nice things, because we make dumb decisions with money. I strongly encourage the city council to vote against this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other council? Council McLean.
I have questions. Is this only for the collegiate students that are doing the at North Shore Community College, or is this actually going to alleviate LPS overcrowding?
We have Denier from the mayor's office come on up to the podium.
As I noted before, the Frederick Douglass Collegiate Academy is one of the uses that we're seeking there. We're also seeking administrative space, and once we move forward, or hopefully move forward with some of these big votes and everything, we will get an architect on board to do a feasibility study to really start to program out some of that space.
And has there been any transportation strategy figured out if you are able to alleviate some overcrowding, like what schools or who is going to benefit from it? Has that been looked at all?
Yeah. So the early college program is currently operating.
The only one that's going to not like actual.
Well, they're currently operating at the North Shore Community College, which, as you know, is right around the corner.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I was going to have Mike Bertino come, because I think Mike was just, Mike, could you come up and maybe just answer some of the questions that were being asked about?
Sure. Thank you, Council President. CFO Mike Bertino. First and foremost is, I think there's no secret that we have leases totaling today of $750,000. So what happens with those leases is after 3 years, they don't count towards net school spending. So I give the school committee, the council gives the school committee $750,000 to pay the leases. Starting at the end of next year, I have to give them another $750,000, because that $750,000 that they're paying for leases does not count against net school spending. That is a very important part of the decision. Secondly, this building was marketed to developers and everybody, and they all declined which is one of the reasons why, we had won the RFP. The idea is to help the school centralize all the offices on the bus line and get rid of all of these leases. And I think, just like any city, some cities, do certain things good. I think one of the things we've done, at least that I've seen since I've been here, is our buildings may not be new, but they're clean and they're kept up. So you have to look at your strengths and your weaknesses and say, it's better to own in this situation because we're going to have to give them money that we don't have. We talked about the structural deficit. And those leases aren't going down, they're only going up. It's a very, very important aspect to know about the equation of net school spending.
I just had you have one question, because there was a good comment about the build-out cost of this, right? Is that money net school spending if you build it out?
Generally, it's not, but it's designed as an office building now. So, sometimes you can't build it out maybe like you want to in the first year or two, but over time, we have space, and space is a priority for the school department because they can repurpose their existing space into more room for the children.
Okay. All right. Council McLean, have a question?
Yeah, I just want to ask about Bennett Street. So Bennett Street is going to be, everyone's moving from there to this new, hypothetically, to this new place on Eastern, where the Eastern Bank is?
I believe hypothetically, yes. And Bennett School, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago was used as a school. So it has, classrooms, it has space, it has camera systems, security systems, has plenty of parking. That's probably the quickest way for us to add seats for our children, is repurposing some places that used to be schools.
Okay. Councilor Owling-Sung had a question.
He already answered my question.
Okay.
Mr. President.
Councilor LaPierre.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a few comments related to this purchase. I'm glad Mike said what he said about the total cumulative amount of lease is, I think, $750,000, and this payment would be around $630,000 a year. So there is a savings. We're in a very tumultuous time in our school department where space is at an absolute premium and land is not. You can see it with the Pickering Middle School over the past 8 years, how much that has taken to get us to this point of breaking ground very shortly at the Magnolia Park site. I say that because I see this as sort of a chessboard with pieces that are going to be moving that creates that level of space that we solve not just for next year or the year after, but generationally. If you look at some of the moves that could happen with the acquisition, you would move Bennett Street admin offices, which Mr. Bertino was right. It was the Ford K-8 school under Dr. Crane several years ago. Prior to that, it was the IUE GE Union Hall where people gathered for union business. So that building itself is ready to be a school that would help us, particularly in the middle school level. If it's a K-8, how it's repurposed will be up to the committee and the superintendent. But you would alleviate this West Lynn bulge of the Breed Middle School, essentially. You'd also have a vacant Pickering in a couple of years when that school opens to, again, alleviate crowding. You look at the paper. English High School just graduated over 500 seniors. I taught there. It's no fun having 40 in a classroom with the desks lined up next to each other, and a teacher cannot even get down the aisles in that school. And that was when the population was manageable at around 1,800. It's now 22, 2,300, 24, 25. It just goes on and on. So if we want to do our kids a favor, we make this investment now, we solve our space crisis, we put a little away that we're going to be paying a loan off anyway, and we own this as an asset. I will point out we're getting it, I think, at around $12 million. On the open real estate market, this would go for 16 and perhaps up to 20, I've heard, in a competitive market. We're not getting a Target there. There's not going to be a supercenter. We're not going to get retail. It was going to become bulldozed in housing. And I don't think we want to take that risk. I think we want that asset to be in our control. I think we want our kids from the Frederick Douglass North Shore Community a Collegiate Academy to walk across the street where they're very familiar with that area after being in that school for 2 years. I think you want to see administrative offices from Bennett Street make the move to Market Street and support our downtown businesses, because there's nothing to buy on Bennett Street for lunch at 100 Bennett Street. So let's start thinking bigger. I like out of the box, but think to the future and solving the space crisis right now. Nothing else. Because our teachers can't teach if they got 50 kids in front of them. And I might be exaggerating, but I know one thing in my past as being an educator. Small class sizes make for better performance and results of your kids. And teachers cannot teach in the climate that they are asked to teach in 2024, heading into 25, under this duress. So let's do them a favor, the school department a favor. Let's take this on, and let's make sure that we're able to meet our obligation and save a few bucks a year and not give these great leases away to Wayne Alarm and Eastern and everywhere else around the city that we have all this space that we're renting. We need to consolidate, and we are being wise about this decision. This is being practical. And I think we're in a position where we don't have many options. We can't just build on a brand new field in the city of Lynn. We found what it was like to try and find and it's not a perfect location, but it's a location. We knew in 17 we didn't have a good location, and the voters told us so on New Pickering. Now we know in 2024 we have a good location that will stand up, and we'll have a new building, a beautiful school, and now let's get Bennett Street on the rolls as a school as well. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other discussion from the council? Councilor Madry.
Sorry. Thank you. I had a question for you, Mr. Bertino.
Mike, could you come to the podium?
Thank you. So the question I had was, you said the net school spending wouldn't be able to be used next year. Will the bond repayment be able? Will we be able to use the net school spending for the bond repayment?
No, that is not eligible.
Okay.
But they'll be able to keep the $750 that they're currently using on lease payments. So the way net school revolves is all the capital and stuff comes from the municipality, and that would be considered capital. But again, the opportunity cost of that $750, which is going to over $800 next year, they would be able to keep that money and put it back into the classrooms.
Thank you. And another question, for the leases, are we going to incur any fees for breaking those leases?
No, all those leases were one-year options on a renewal. So they're for 3 years, because if they were more than 3 years, they would have come in front of you. So as we prepare, if this moves forward and we prepare the building, we'll be, moving out of those leases and centralizing the school administration.
Great, thank you. And just one more question. Has it already been decided, or I know that community space in the city of Lynn is also a problem. Is there a chance that we can use some of their space for community space for the city?
I mean, I consult on financial decisions, but I would assume that if it's brought up, it'll definitely be discussed. And if the committee, thinks that's a good use, I'm sure that's something that you could get accomplished. I don't have any authority to answer on that. But if there's extra space, I don't see why not.
Great, thank you.
And also, just a couple of points of information. The senior center building that we purchased, the rent for that, when I first came here, discussions with the administration, it quietly went out as the perfect place for the senior center. They all were happy about it. And instead of leasing it at a tune of $220,000 a year that escalated every year, we allowed the senior center to keep their money, and the city purchased the building at $180,000 a year in debt service. As far as the other building on Market Street, the rumors is that we have people wanting us to pay double for what we paid for that already. So those 2 State Street, those are really good purposes. The idea was to get the Welcome Center on the bus line, so it would be easier for people without reliable transportation to register their children for school. I attended the opening a couple of months ago, and it turned out to be, quite the building. And it turns out that although the downstairs problem was rectified, that the school department has, an overwhelming need for storage, and they're using that for quality storage, and we're receiving rent on the third floor. So those are all really good, what I call business decisions. So, I mean, any private developer would take those any day of the week.
I'll just add to that. I remember when we looked at that building and for a Welcome Center on Bennett Street, people were walking down Bennett Street from Commercial, and if anyone's been through that area right now, it'd be next to impossible for anybody to walk through that area. So moving that welcoming center over to the building makes sense, but there could be opportunities.
And it also flooded down there too, so some of the children that weren't tall enough were having a hard time getting by as well.
Yep. Okay, thank you. I think Councilor Meany had a question or a comment.
I just had a question, if Danye doesn't mind approaching the podium, please.
Okay, Danye, you come on up.
So I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of a comment that you had with Council McLean's question. So you said that we're going to purchase the building first and then find out if it's feasible or not. Is that correct?
Respectfully, no, Councilor. So what this would authorize us to do is we would have authorization to go out to bond, and there are several other steps we need to take, including having our law department work on reviewing documents in terms of purchase and sale, leaseback terms with Eastern Bank, due diligence on behalf of the Inspectional Services Department, and my comment was that while we start doing this stuff, we can simultaneously get an architect on board.
But I guess what I'm getting at is, shouldn't we have a plan for the building before we decide to buy it?
So we do have a plan for the building, as what we talked about today. But once you start talking about actual square footages, where walls and partitions need to come up, that takes an architect, engineers.
Okay, so thank you for clearing that up. I just wanted to make sure that there was a plan for the building we're trying to purchase. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councilor Net.
Mr. Bedino, I have a question. Has the ISD got involved in this? Is any all codes up to date?
Could you repeat that question, please?
Yeah, has ISD get involved in this? Have they looked at to see all the buildings up to code, everything is ready for use?
ISD did a walkthrough with the engineers several days ago, and overall, without any reports yet, the verbal conversations were positive about the condition and operating systems of the building.
But up to your judgment, so the building is good for you, so we don't need to upgrade or we don't need to fix or anything at all, right? By this?
I think probably some small odds and ends, things that we'll put on our radar for a 5 or 10 year plan, but I don't believe there's anything imminent.
Okay, so in the meantime, everything's okay. But in the long run, in 10 years, there must be a potential of upgrading, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from the council? So we have a motion. We have a second. Second? Roll call.
Counsel Alanson?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel LaPierre?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Matul?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel McLean?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Meany?
No.
No. Counsel Meji Madre?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Walsh?
Yes. Motion carries. Next public hearing.
Next public hearing is for Tequila's Bar and Grill, Inc., 80 Central Ave, for permission to add a pool table for entertainment and to expand the premises into 138 Liberty Street.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor, come on up to the podium. And thank you for your patience while waiting through that.
Hello, Denora Miranda. I'm his interpreter. Emilio Argueta is president of Tequila's Bar and Grill. Am I allowed to speak?
Absolutely, yep, that's fine.
Okay, so we brought forth the request for permission to expand the premise and as well add the pool table. We're just looking, he started business here and he's definitely thankful to the city of Lynn for treating him with kindness. Every time he's needed help, he's had the help here. And we're just looking to get the permission. His business is for entertainment. We're looking to attract more people aside from residents to come and bring more people to the city.
Okay, all right, great. Just have a seat. If there's any questions, we can have you come back up, okay?
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Seeing on that part of the hearing is closed. Anybody in opposition to this? Would anybody like to speak in opposition? Anybody like to speak in opposition? Anybody in opposition? Seeing none, that part of the hearing is closed. What's the wish of council? Councilor Chakoudas.
I'm going to be honest, I have not sat down with them. I have not looked at the building, where they're doing the pool tables, what they're exactly doing. If possible, I'd like to table it to the next meeting so I can actually sit down with them, go down there and look it over and see if I think it's approvable to have pool tables. And
Okay, so we have a motion to table.
Second.
Non-debatable. Second. All in favor? Roll call on the table.
Counsel Alanson?
Yes to table.
Yes. Counsel Chakoudas?
yes.
Yes. Counsel Field?
Yes to table.
Yes. Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel LaPierre?
Table.
Yes. Counsel Matul?
Yes to table.
Yes. Counsel McLean? Are you absent? Counsel Meany?
Yes to table.
Yes. Counsel Meji Madre?
Yes, the table.
Yes. Counsel Net?
Yes, the table.
Yes. And Counsel Walsh?
Yes to table. So it's tabled. Would I like to just speak with Councilor Chakoudas, give you a card and get an opportunity to meet and go over some of those things. Any other public hearings tonight?
No other public hearings.
Public hearings to be set down.
We have a petition of Renal de Leon Robles, owner of Los Chacutas, to park his food truck at 2A Adams Street Extension to sell food from Tuesday through Sunday, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Do we have a motion to set it down?
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to motion to set down a public hearing for Ronald de Leon Robles for Los Choquitos to park his food truck at 2A Adams Street Extension to sell food from Tuesday to Sundays.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Set it down. Committees, licensing, Councilor Field.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a unanimous vote by our committee. I make a motion to approve.
Unanimous vote of the committee, motion approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Utilities, Council Arlington.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one public hearing via National Grid in the area of Deer Cove. We have unanimous vote by the committee. Motion to approve.
So we have a motion to approve. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Ways and Means, Councilor Net.
Yes, Mr. President, all unanimous vote of the committee, I make a motion to approve. Thank you.
The clerk read the transfers.
Yep. Okay, we have $2,000 from election expense to election payroll to fund the precinct payroll for the presidential primary. Certified funds, $3,873,826 from the ARPA funds for use by CD and ISD to fund ARPA projects. $355,828 for fiscal year 2025 summer youth workshops. $1,513,007.80 to the City of Lynn by Transportation Bond Bill Chapter 90 for FY25. $313,518 to the Health Department for COVID-19 case investigations and contract tracing program. $227,843 to the School Department for the FY25 CPPI Cohort 3 grant program. $102,060 to the School Department for the FC 127 Promote Safe and Healthy Learning grant program. The following orders: order that the City of Lynn hereby accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 9B. City of Lynn to hereby accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 9D. Order the City of Lynn to hereby accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 32, Section 9D and a half. Order that the City of Lynn hereby accepts the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 16. Order to accept the adoption of proposed ordinances for all existing revolving funds that the City of Lynn desires to maintain with caps and annual spending limits. The following revolving funds are abandoned foreclosed residential commercial property with a $500,000 cap and $150 annual limit. The Auditorium Fund, unlimited, $5 million. Cannabis Revolving Fund, unlimited, $3 million. Comcast PEG Access and Cable Fund, unlimited, $1 million. Verizon PEG Access and Cable Fund, unlimited, $1 million. Community Garden Fund, unlimited, $50,000. Dog Park Fund, unlimited, $25,000. Park and Recs Concert Special Events, unlimited, $50,000. Cultural District Fund, unlimited, $20,000. Handicap Parking Violation Fine, $200,000, $50,000. Insurance Proceeds, unlimited, $250,000. July 4th Celebration, unlimited, unexpended monies. Law Enforcement Trust, unlimited, $200,000. Sale of Lynn Library branches, unlimited, no cap, one time. Parking meter receipts, unlimited, $200,000. Pine Grove Cemetery land grade, unlimited, $150,000. Pine Grove Cemetery Perpetual Fund, unlimited, $150,000. Repair repaved roads caused by utilities, unlimited, $150,000. Lynn Special Needs Camp, unlimited, $150,000. Stadium Condo Manning Fraser Field, unlimited, $250,000. Tax Title Collection, unlimited, $150,000. Overflow Trash Bag Fund, unlimited, $100,000. Vaccine Insurance, unlimited, $100,000. Park Use Security Deposit, unlimited, $25,000. Compost Bin Fund, unlimited, $50,000. Traffic Island Fund, unlimited, $100,000. Art and Culture Fund, unlimited, $50,000. Northern Strand Bike Path, unlimited, $50,000. Senior Center Operations, unlimited, $100,000. The Grand Army of the Republic Hall, unlimited, $10 million. Tree Gift Revolving Fund, unlimited, $250,000. Creative Advertising Trash Barrels, unlimited, $100,000. 2 State Street Revolving Fund, unlimited, $250,000. Rhodes Memorial Chapel, unlimited, $250,000. The WIN Innovation Fund, unlimited, $50,000. Crown Family Library Fund, unlimited, $50,000. And finally, the newly created Poet Laureate position, unlimited, $200,000.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Allensburg.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Chakutis.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Field.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hogan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor LaPierre.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Matul.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor McLean. Absent. Counselor Meany.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Meji Madre.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Net.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes. Council Net, I believe there was an emergency on that also. Make a motion.
Yeah, they're all emergency, vote of the emergency by the committee. I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion for emergency second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Allensburg.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Chakutis.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Field.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hogan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor LaPierre.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Matul.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor McLean. Absent. Counselor Meany. Yes, Counselor Meji Madre.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Net.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes. Any old business by the council? Any new business? Council Net?
I make a motion to adjourn, Mr. President.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Individual budget meetings with the mayor, a few people from the comptroller's office and myself. We go through the process. This year, we came up with the structural deficit. It's a little bit tighter. Obviously, inflation is hurting everybody. So we put those numbers together. We actually had to reach back out one more time because the deficit was large enough that we needed some support from departments to reduce the deficit. So with the combination of memos we received from department heads, small increases in fees across the board for departments that are allowed to charge fees, as well as not filling in some legacy positions on the city side, we were able to submit a balanced budget. So tonight, everybody is going to submit here their budget. They're going to talk about the goals and objectives and what they hope to accomplish in fiscal year '25. As far as my budget goes, my budget is mostly personnel. I reduced several of my line items to help support the effort to reduce the deficit. So we did that, and most of my line items reduced were for items that help run the office: paper, toner, folders for the budget, just small items, but the rest of it is made up of personnel. There's a few departments that aren't going to be here tonight, so if you have questions for me now, I'll answer them now. But those departments that I'll be speaking on their behalf because they couldn't make it for one reason or other, I'll speak on their behalf as well. But for the most part, my budget has contractual increases and a small amount of money for office supplies and things of that nature. My primary role is to monitor and control the budget and to advise the mayor on any and all financial decisions. And we'll be able to accomplish that and continue to move forward as we have done the past 5 years.
Excellent. Thank you, CFO Bertino. Any overview questions for CFO Bertino at this time? I do want to recognize Councilor McLean has just joined us, as well as colleagues who may not be part of the subcommittee on the budget, but are here to listen and ask questions as well. Councilor Meany, Councilor Allingsung, Councilor Nett, and Councilor Meji Madri. So thank you to my colleagues for joining us. Do you have any questions for Mr. Bertino at this time? As he said, he will be coming back up to make other presentations later on in the evening. Yes, Councilor Allingsung.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, thank you for the overview. We've reviewed the budget thoroughly this past few weeks. Just very interesting question about our budget last year, which is $488 million, and budget this year is $488 million, and next year is $517 million. That's $29 million more. What has changed?
For the increase in the revenue?
Right.
Most of the increase in the revenue comes in the form of Chapter 70, and that is the primary source of funds for the school department. So the school department, we're still, I believe we're in the 5th year of the Student Opportunity Act, which has provided a substantial increase for the Lynn Public Schools for the last 5 years. This is actually the smallest increase that we've seen in 5 years, but it was still just under 20 million. I think it was like 18.8 million in new Chapter 70 money. We raise about 5.5 million in taxation and another 1.5 million or so of local receipts. So that's the increase. We also we're in the final year of a contractual increase of 3.5%. So that's also reflected in here as well.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Allingsung. Councilor Field?
Thank you, Chairman Lapierre. Mike, just to piggyback on that question, as far as the Chapter 70, is the new millionaires tax figured into that Chapter 70 funding, or is that going to be something completely separate from the state?
Based on the revenues, I would say they're using some of that money because projections were down 7 out of 8 months. So if projections are down and we're getting, close to $19 million in extra money, I can't see how they couldn't use that money to fill the gap.
Right, so it filters in through Chapter 70.
Right. I think they have a goal where we receive additional Student Opportunity Act money, and then the minimum presentation for schools that are already at their foundation budget would be anywhere between $30 to $60 per student, depending upon what final budget gets signed. Because our budget is based on the governor's budget. It's now in conference committee, and they'll come up with somewhere in between the House, the Senate, and the governor's budget. And then we'll actually rebalance one more time. So I'm not sure if they were giving the minimum of 60, or that will be somewhere in between 30 and 60. But we are at a much higher level because of the Student Opportunity Act.
I actually know the House approved up to 104, and then the Senate came back with 110 per pupil, so $6 more. But as you said, it's now in conference committee, but we're at least going to see probably $110, which could be about $400,000 more
And
for the
that's millionaire's
LPS.
tax or just total check?
That's just total formula and per pupil expenditure coming out of the House and Senate conversions.
Okay. And then, to piggyback that question, as far as like roads and stuff, do we see any increase on Chapter 90 from the millionaire's tax? Is that just?
I don't believe we did. I believe that we received just over 1.5 million, which is basically our annual contribution that we receive from Chapter 90.
So we haven't seen an increase because of that tax that was approved?
Correct.
For his last election?
I thought there was something we approved a few months ago for supplemental, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah.
It might have been about a little over $500,000, I thought. But
Okay.
again, it might have ran through the Ways and Means Committee and is now being used for extra street paving in the fall and so forth, or summer.
Yeah.
But I thought a chunk came through from that.
But that was part of a supplemental, which was part of fiscal year 2024.
So that, I think that's what my question is. Are we going to see supplementals like that for education and road construction? Or is that going to be snuck in through Chapter 70 and Chapter 90?
I think it'll probably hold them to their original commitment. When they talk about infrastructure, transportation, I don't believe roads was involved in that. I believe it was more of public transportation, the T, the tunnels and bridges.
Right, yeah, it was kind of presented at the vote as infrastructure, so I just kind of thought it would cover everything.
I think we are going to see more of it. They had just estimated that it's over the $1.8 billion they anticipated for the year with a month to go. So that could climb as high as $2 billion in terms of millionaire's tax. So it will trickle back to the cities and towns accordingly, I think, during the next, after July 1.
I think with it being so new for us to like we're looking at it in our first budget cycle since, rather than the state kind of separating revenues from Chapter 70 and Chapter 90 and increasing these additional revenue stream into that, and they're appropriating the money that would have originally gone into Chapter 70 and 90. So I just want to kind of see how the state's doing it and if you're seeing anything different. But, the Chairman Lapierre made a point that we did appropriate a part of it.
we did.
I thought we did too.
I'm not sure.
I just want to know, how you're seeing it as far as the state levels go. Because we should be getting more, obviously.
Right, but I think that with the revenues down, they're keeping everybody whole and they're keeping their original promises. That's the way I see it. They're keeping what they planned on doing. The extra, because of the downturn in revenue, I don't think the money is there.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions for Mike right now? Seeing none. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
We're going to call up public safety next. We're going to start with the Lynn Police Department and Chief Reddy. Chief Reddy, would you like to approach? Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for providing this opportunity to me to offer some input on the proposed FY25 Police Department budget. I want to thank the mayor and the council members for your consideration and support when determining our budget for the coming year. In the past, I have shared with you the challenges that law enforcement profession has experienced with regard to recruitment and retention of personnel, especially in recent years. We've certainly experienced those challenges here in Lynn as well. We've worked hard to address those issues, but it's an ongoing challenge. However, I'm happy to say that currently our staffing level, including academy recruits, is at 191. We have additional recruit officers scheduled to attend the next available academy in September as well. In the past year, we did significant work in the area of recruitment, and as a result, participation locally within Lynn, participation in the police officer entrance exam rose by 50%. And we hope that that will result in further gains in hiring in the coming year. I'm also hopeful that during the FY25 year, the anticipated increase in staffing levels will enable us to assign additional personnel in the areas of need, such as traffic enforcement, investigations, community outreach and engagement, school resource officer positions, and more. The FY25 budget includes level funding of our overtime budget. This can be challenging due to the unpredictability of events that occur throughout the year and which may require significant additional hiring as a part of our response. In recent years, we have also sought to increase training in multiple areas, including crisis intervention, de-escalation, active shooter, and more. I believe that these types of training are critically important to our mission and essential for officer safety and effective community response. In the event that these issues require additional or have an adverse impact on our budget, we will keep you informed. The police department budget is also predicated on the receipt of anticipated but not guaranteed grant funding. We have also been able to use grant funding to restore some non-support positions that have been unfunded in recent years. Although we anticipate receiving this grant funding in the coming fiscal year, it is not a certainty. Should we experience significant shortages in that grant funding, again, we will keep you informed. I'm grateful for the funding in our expense budget, as it will allow us to continue to make progress in restore our fleet and reduce the wear and tear or the effects of wear and tear on excessive use of marked patrol units. This is also important as we seek to add more special unit positions such as SROs, and also in order to have police visibility at the many road construction projects that were occurring in the city currently and in the coming years. And then finally, the expense budget is critical to meeting the growing requirements for technology in our operations so that we can provide the most effective and efficient service to the community. Thank you again for your attention, and do you have any questions?
Questions for the chief? Councilor Field first, then Councilor Ellingson.
Thank you, Chair Lapp. Yeah, thank you, Chief. One of the things you just mentioned was traffic safety, traffic enforcement. Do you envision a full traffic unit as far as, what probably one of our number one complaints that we get as councilors is speeding. Everybody's asking for speed bumps on their street. The whole city would look like a parking lot with speed bumps if we did that. So I think, it generates revenue. It's, I'm not telling you anything you don't know already, but can you talk more on traffic safety? That's
Sure.
my first question.
And it's not only the number one complaint you get, it's the number one complaint we get, believe it or not. And it's everything from side streets being used as what people perceive as cut-throughs to really highly trafficked streets where there are speeding or congestion or improper turning and a whole range of issues. Traffic is a priority of ours. We would like to beef up the traffic enforcement unit and have more targeted patrols, but all of our patrol division personnel are expected to engage in traffic enforcement as part of their daily operations as well. So we do inform our officers of various complaints and hotspot areas on a regular basis through roll call, and then we seek additional grant funding through the state has a grant program for traffic enforcement that we use regularly for additional patrols. And where we can afford it, we also increase traffic enforcement there as well. But increasing the staffing there is absolutely a priority.
Is there anybody that oversees that? Is there a traffic enforcement officer, like a gang, like someone in charge of the gang unit,
Yes.
a rank officer?
We have a traffic, an OIC of the traffic unit. Currently, it is Sergeant Dave Hunter.
Second question, you talked about a lot of the road details. Is there any consideration for post-certification for retirees as reserve officers? I know some of the retirees from the Lynn Police Department serve in Nahant. They serve in Swampscott. It's a revenue for administrative fees for these road detail jobs. And I know when we had Mass DOT here just a few weeks ago, they had expressed a concern that they have a hard time filling some of these details. And with a lot of the state-funded projects just getting started, Linfield Street, Broadway now starting, we're going to have Essex Street, and then Western Ave is another $50+ million project. I noticed personally that we're having patrol division control traffic situations that, in my opinion, road details should be handling most of that. So is there a consideration for the reserve officers or no in the city?
Well, how we can expand staffing availability for traffic enforcement, to answer your question, is yes, it's certainly under consideration. Post requirements play into that consideration. There are options that don't necessarily involve posts that are all of this is part of things that we are looking at and evaluating and hoping to have substantive discussions on. I would also add, when the DOT said that, one of their contractors was also very slow in paying, and that officers got frustrated, especially out-of-town officers, and were reluctant to come and work some of those. So we've addressed that with them as well, but that was also a contributing cause.
Yeah, we heard that too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All set. Council Allenson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, thank you so much for that update. From the letter sent to us by our CFO, the Lynn Police is one of the few departments that has capital requests. I'm also happy to see that there'll be new 16 police cars coming to our city.
Yep.
What is our inventory right now? Why do we need 16 police cars? Are there's other 16 police cars that are not?
Yeah, so honestly, prior to COVID, in the lean years of the city, when funding was scarce, we weren't purchasing cruisers at a regular rate, and we're still recovering from that. So when you think on an average shift, there is anywhere from 10 to 14 or 15 marked cruisers on patrol. We prefer not to run them 24 hours a day because obviously it accelerates the timeline that they're available for use or effective use. So we try to run them only 2 shifts per day. So what that cruiser commitment will do is help us to do exactly that. Some of the older cruisers will come down and be used in service for SROs or on details of things like that, but it'll help us have newer cruisers on patrol and address the needs for the patrol personnel to have good quality equipment as they go out and engage in their duties.
So do we have, so we're not removing 16 old vehicles?
No, well, some will be. It's a trickle-down effect. So literally in the past year, several of our SRO cruisers just, let's say, for example, a cruiser is 12 years old and has 150,000 miles, and now it needs a new transmission. The cost of all of that is just not, it's no longer worth putting the money in, and we have to take them out of service. An evaluation is made all the time. We submit that as part of our budget request on, the current status of all of our cruisers. But what the new cruisers will do is allow us to have sufficient cruisers for the SROs, ones that are very old and carrying lots of costs for repairs, will be taken out of service.
Yeah, I'm very excited with this development. Actually, I actually told my colleagues this a few weeks ago. That I remember when I first moved to Lynn, there's only 1 or 2 brand new car.
Yeah.
And they use those cars for like parades, like whoever the start of the parade, because it's brand new. And to see a lot of them here, I just want to